Carbs are not good for you, and in this video, I'm going to tell you why. My name is Keegan, and I've been a zero carb athlete for the past year now, and it has been one of the best decisions of my entire life to cut out carbs and to stop eating them completely. In this video, I'm going to share with you my own experiences and struggles whenever I was eating carbohydrates, and what I've learned about how carbs affect your body, our bodies, and our health, just to convince you that you should stop eating them because they're not good for you, they're not healthy, and they're not essential at all. And so with that, let's begin the video. So the first thing that you should really consider whenever thinking about quitting carbs is just the fact that they compel you to overeat food. So from my own personal experience, never have I ever been eating exclusively, low carbohydrate things and overate them. Just think about that. Like, you don't overeat vegetables. You don't overeat meat. You don't overeat eggs. It's very, very hard to do those things. But from my own experience, I've always found it super easy to keep having a little bit more of even the clean carbs that people talk about, like rice, like fruit, like potatoes and stuff like that. I always found myself having more than I honestly should have of those things. And even if I was like super restrictive with my calories, like, no, I can only have 100 grams of potatoes today, or 100 grams of white rice, I would still find myself, like, I would still be hungry afterwards, craving more. And especially with like the more sugary things like fruit. There was this one time about a year and a half ago where I was in this really bad sort of cycle of overeating food. And this one morning I woke up and I was cutting up this pineapple just because whatever. I thought, oh yeah, I'll have fruit because fruit is good for you. Yeah, it's good. It's okay. Totally not addictive, or totally, I won't overeat this because it's a whole real food. Yep. Guess what happened? As I'm chopping up the pineapple, I get it all done. I put it in a bowl and I have a little bit. 10 minutes later, after I'm done with that bowl, I fill it up again with the chopped pineapple. And I do it again and again. And then eventually I just open up the container of the pineapple and I just start going at it. And it was in this sort of like half brainless state where I knew I was full. I was like, okay, I'm kind of good here, but this just tastes good. I just want to have more. And it was this weird compulsion to just have more, even though I was full, even though I was done. I was like, okay, I can just go on about the rest of my day. No, something in my brain and my body told me to have more, to keep eating this thing. And eventually I got to the bottom of the bowl, of the container that had all the chopped pineapple pieces in it. And I looked at it and I just felt sick to my stomach. You might relate to that. But that was a common experience for a long time until I completely, I stopped eating carbohydrates entirely. And the reason for that is, one, it tastes like, you can just kind of imagine, like, it's sugary stuff, it tastes good, that sort of thing. But what I've learned about how your body kind of reacts whenever you eat carbohydrates, it's really interesting because looking back, it made total sense why I was kind of eating this stuff, just going ham at it. And yeah, sure, there's some sort of like willpower thing I could have encouraged there, but the thing with carbohydrates is that they literally compel you to eat more food through a couple of methods. And the first thing is the fact that there is a certain carbohydrate, especially in like fruit and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it's in a majority of things around. But fructose is this certain type of carbohydrate, especially fructose kind of makes sense, right? But there's a lot of fructose in stuff like fruit. So looking back, it makes sense why I would do this. But what fructose does is whenever you consume it, it lights up the same areas of your brain. Like if they were putting your brain through a scanner or whatever, it would light up the same areas of your brain as hard drugs like crack or meth. And those things are super, super addictive as well. And so you can imagine that, with the dopamine spike and all that sort of thing and like it super sugary taste, it's going to make you want to have more. It's literally addictive. And it makes you want to have more and more and more. And that's exactly what happened to me. And so that's kind of the first thing, is just fructose in of itself is addictive. And I'm pretty sure all sugar in general is just a drug. And it compels you to want to have more. Maybe not to the same degree as like hard drugs like crack or meth or whatever, but it lights them up in the same way. And so it can have that sort of addictive aspect to it that makes you that makes you crave it, that makes you need more of it, even though it's not the best for your health, right? So that's the first thing. And the other things is that it increases your hunger and it messes with your satiety hormones. So the first thing with your hunger is you get hungry for a couple of reasons, right? Like your ghrelin is a hormone that makes you hungry, basically. And your leptin is the thing that tells you like you're full, you don't need to be as hungry. But the thing with sugar is that it messes with both of those hormones. It makes your ghrelin, which is the thing that makes you hungry, more active, and it makes it blocks your leptin in your brain. So whenever your body is sending all these hormones like the leptin, right? Whenever it's sending that to your brain can't tell that it's there because it's being blocked, because you've been eating carbohydrates, because you've been eating sugar. And so since you aren't getting that satiety signal, your brain's like, okay, I guess I have to eat more because I'm not satisfied. So you keep having more. And looking back to my story of just constantly eating the fruit, or I mean, even with stuff like potatoes and rice and, like French fries or whatever, if I was out at like a dinner or something, it was the same thing over and over again. I was full, I felt full physically, but my brain told me, have more food. And so that's another part of it. But yeah, it's just like it blocks your satiety signals. It makes you hungry. It messes with it's addictive. It's just there's a lot of things working against you whenever you eat carbohydrates that compel you to eat more than you should. And if I just want you to think about that, like, should you actually be eating these things if they mess with your satiety signals? Because think about just an animal in the wild. Because at the end of the day, we are animals. We're just smarter than all of them, right? But animals in the wild, or even like domesticated ones, right? Like cows. Just think about a cow that walks on grass. All they eat is grass. But you don't see a cow constantly munching on grass all the time. Like, yeah, they eat a lot, but sometimes they'll stop and they'll just sit there. And sometimes they won't even be like chewing the cud or whatever. Or take literally any animal, like a lion, for example, right? Whenever it's done, like, it doesn't just go ahead and eat the entire zebra that it catches. It eats enough and then it's done, because it has the satiety signals telling it, like, okay, you're good. And I just want you to think about that. Like, if we're not getting the right satiety signals, it means we're probably not eating the right kind of food. And just think back to what I said before about how we don't really overeat. It's like impossible to overeat meat. It's basically impossible to overeat eggs. You can't really overeat vegetables either. So it's just, you just think about that whenever you're going about it. Is like, are we really meant to be eating these things that make us overeat food? And also, like, we just live in a time of abundance. Like, it makes sense why these things would make us overeat. Like, if you think back like a bazillion years or whatever, whenever humans were still in their caves and stuff, if they found like something sweet and sugary that would make them fat, that they would stuff themselves and stuff, Cool, right? That's good because you'll survive for longer, right? Because you have energy. But in this modern day where we have so much abundance, it's not a good idea to be doing that because we'll stuff ourselves and the food will still be there. So we'll stuff ourselves again and again and again. And it makes us fat, it makes us unhealthy. And that's the next thing that I want to talk about is that like this stuff just damages your body. It makes you unhealthy. Sugar is not good for your body by any sort of means, right? So the first, like obviously it's an addiction, right? It's a drug. It lights up your brain. It damages your brain. It's not good to be doing that on a consistent basis, right? But just think about whenever your blood sugar goes up, your insulin also goes up, right? Because whenever you eat carbs, your body raises your insulin to put the blood sugar back down because too high of blood sugar is bad for your body, right? Like that's why diabetes have to be careful with their blood sugar levels is because if they get too high for too long, they can start damaging their body. I think it's called hyperglycemia. And you can get stuff like glycation, which is where the sugar molecules will literally start binding to your cells and killing them. And that's no bueno because you want alive cells, not dead cells. And so diabetics, they can get like neuropathies and stuff where their nerves are literally just being destroyed, right? And so then they'll end up getting like their hands or their feet amputated because like the nerves and the blood vessels and all the cells in there are just being destroyed by the vast amount of sugar in their blood system. And they can also go blind because they'll get what's called a retinopathy, and it's just sugar in their body just destroying their eyeballs. That's insane, dude. Like that's crazy, bro. So I think in of itself, the fact that sugar is toxic to your body at a certain point, and your body works really, really hard to keep it at a very steady baseline. And you can make glucose by yourself if you don't eat carbs. You can make your own glucose at the level that you need it without having to go through this like up and down insulin blood sugar spike. And you also, like, your insulin is also also a fat storage hormone. So if your insulin's chronically high, you're probably going to store more fat than you would like to. So yeah, it damages your body. It makes you unhealthy, makes you gain fat, gain weight. Now, obviously, if you don't eat too much of anything, you're not going to gain fat, you're not going to gain weight. That makes sense, right? Because if you don't have enough mass going into your body, you're probably not going to do it. But it's just, I just don't think it's a smart idea to do that, to eat this food that, sure, it tastes good, but it is detrimental to your body. And those are really the reasons why that I've personally stopped eating carbohydrates. Is just, it compels me to, it makes me overeat the food unless I'm like really strict about it, but then I still crave, I still have this like weird addiction to it afterwards, and it's damaging to my body. So that's just no bueno. And some people will say like, oh, but carbs are your main energy source, but you need to have carbs. I just, like, that doesn't really make sense to me whenever I listen to more of like whenever I look at just kind of how we go through carbs. Like, if carbs were our main energy source, in my opinion, if they're a preferred and like honest, like a primary energy source, do you think, I would think personally that we would store more of it, that we would make more of it, that it would be like the thing that we need to run on. But the thing is that we don't store a lot of carbohydrates in our body, just enough to keep the cells that need glucose running, right? We don't make a ton of it, and there's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. You can live without eating carbohydrates. So what it makes me think of is that carbs are not the preferred energy source, but the reason why that we burn them, like people, I mean, Everyone probably knows like, oh, glucose goes into a cell, it'll break apart and then go into the mitochondria, that sort of thing. What I think the reason for that is why we burn carbs first if we have carbs available, is because it's damaging to our body. It's because our body doesn't want it in there, and so that's why it'll get rid of it as fast as it possibly can. Because we don't need too much of it. And once there's a certain amount, we can just run on other stuff like our fat and be perfectly fine. And so I think a good analogy for this is just imagine a fire, right? A lot of people will say like, oh, like burning, right? Like fire, fuel, that sort of thing. The way I think about this now is that fat is our main energy source, right? It's clean, it's all good. It's kind of like imagine just like a wood fire, right? Like your average campfire. And I imagine carbs to be sort of like the trash, right? So imagine you have a bunch of trash laying around and you need to get rid of it somehow. So you'll just burn it. You'll burn it for heat because you still need heat. So you might as well burn the trash. But the problem with that is that there's like chemical residue that comes out of the trash. It's not good to burn trash, right? It's not good to have trash in general in your area, in your room, for example. But you need to get rid of it somehow. And I think that's what our body does with carbs, is it's basically the trash of our body. It just needs to get rid of it, even if there's some like, problems with it. It just needs to get rid of it and flush it out to have it just the appropriate amount of trash. It's not the best analogy, but I think you get what I mean with that. Anyways, what should you eat instead? Because I've been dogging on carbs. They're not good for you. Okay, what else should we eat? Well, there's two other macronutrients, and I already talked about this. Fat is one, and I think that's where you should primarily get the majority of your calories from. Like the majority of the energy that you have probably should be coming from a fat source, right? So I'm not saying you need to like chug oil or whatever, but I'm just saying like it should be a higher ratio of the food that you consume than something like carbs, in my view. And the other thing is protein. So I mean, everyone talks about protein, how you should be eating, 1 gram per pound of body weight or whatever. Eat a lot of protein, eat a lot of fat, but where can you get that? It's just meat and eggs. And if you want to throw in some like vegetables in there, cool as well, that's cool. But yeah, I would say just if you can make the majority of your diet meat, eggs, and maybe vegetables if you want. I think if you make that the majority of your diet, you're going to be a much healthier and much happier person. You're not going to have to deal with all the negative things that I've talked about. You don't have to, like, if you want to still eat carbs, I understand, like, yeah, they're tasty, okay? But I really suggest that you at least try going completely no carb or just really low, like try and get into like a ketogenic diet and just try that for a little bit. Trial it for like 30 days and see how you feel. If you don't like it, just go back, whatever, right? It's 30 days. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. Or it could absolutely change your life like it did mine. And so I'd really just say try it out. But yeah, with that, that's all I got for you. If you like what I'm saying, then you should go check out the course down in this. You should go check out the links in the description. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.